Well, I guess, yeah, like you're right. Like you can't just rely on good design to kind of make you money, I guess, is the most straightforward way of looking at it from my point of view, at least anyway. Like you can't expect to do a beautiful light. Like you can make the most amazing feature light that's just absolutely beautiful, but if you can't kind of market it, or you can't commercialize it, or you can't price it correctly, then you're not going to be sustainable. So I think, you're right. Like there's an aspect to what I do, which is designing, but it's becomes such a small kind of element within the whole studio, because you have to do the design work, but then that has to be made somewhere. So you're, I guess, communicating with manufacturers and doing that side of things. So like procuring materials and parts. Then you may get some stuff back and it's not quite right. So you're doing quality control as well. While you're doing all that, you're having to kind of make sure that you're not overrunning your costs, your design fees. So that's another thing that you have to be really obviously careful about. Then you're right, once you've got the product, you have to then market it, you have to store it somewhere, you have to kind of figure out all those logistics. Then it has to be sent out to customers, and understanding how that works and making sure that you've got enough stock on hand to be able to fulfill those orders. All that kind of stuff is just, well, that's like 95% of what you end up doing. And the design, the actual like pure design element of it becomes quite small. And I think that's one thing that coming into, like, I understood that was the reality, but I just don't think you can quite appreciate that fact until you're actually doing it. Like when I was at Fisher & Paykel, you're a pure industrial designer. Like you go to work in the morning and you're designing, and that's what you do pretty much all day. So I might be designing something, and there might be a new injection molded part that has to be made, and it will cost like $100,000 for the injection molded part. And you're not as worried about that financial part of it if you're working for a large company, where if I have to get something made and it's going to cost me $10,000, it's like a really stressful situation, and you're like, is this going to work? If it doesn't, like it's really going to set me back, and I'm going to be, it's going to be quite difficult to produce anything else because I've just spent all my money. And you've just got to be that much more careful with how you plan out what you're actually going to do, and make sure that it's exactly what you need and what you want. And I think that's one of the most stressful and challenging parts is juggling that kind of financial side of it. Because at the end of the day, it's a business and it has to make money. Yeah. And I'm still struggling with that.
Where did you learn how to do that, or what's been helpful to you in that process?
I'm still learning. I guess I'm lucky. I've had Charmaine, who has been in business for longer than I have, so I've been able to kind of ask her for advice. But I think it's just one of those things where a mentor is really good, but you just have to find your own way through, and you're always going to make mistakes. And it's just making sure that you're like planning things properly, and you understand, the consequences of making a certain decision, and just really, I guess, it's just about. For me, it's just, I'm still learning. So it's hard to kind of look in hindsight to say, oh, I would have done this, I would have done this. Like I'm always making mistakes, and I'm still making mistakes, and I'm just trying to learn from them as I go. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.